The dark indicator of losses of Russian troops as of October 31st has crossed the mark of 300,000, according to the General Staff of the Armed Forces of Ukraine. Good afternoon, this is wrapup on UATV English, bringing some of the hardest of truth in easiest of terms for the whole free world directly from Ukraine. As a result of the full-scale aggression against Ukraine, or shall I say Putin's dementia, the enemy suffered enormous losses. Such losses would be critical for almost any civilized country where the government even somewhat cares about its citizens, but this is certainly not the case with Putin's Russia. The Russian command does not see a problem. Why to care for lives of its soldiers? I mean, it's so expandable. Russia is waging the war in quantities, not qualities, counting on significant mobilization resources of the country. The country is big, it is so. Cannon fodder is available in abundance, so what's worry? All Russian losses are disgraceful and senseless, as it is the war launched by the Kremlin, by Vladimir Putin. Kremlin expendable soldiers die here in Ukraine as invaders and war criminals, whose memories will be shunned by descendants. Of course, Putin can't stop this all bloody massacre with a single decision of his physically. Yes, he can, but not mentally, since he's incapable of accepting the idea of Ukraine's freedom and letting go his imperial ambitions. And one more thing, now stuck in the middle of this criminal invasion of most of all, the tyrant is afraid of the responsibility for the crimes he committed, as well as of the fact that his actions will be publicly recognized as his fiasco, literally his, Putin's personal absolute fiasco, and very rightfully so.
Strategically, we all must be strong, we must be united, and we must do everything possible and impossible to withstand, to reclaim what is ours, and to prove that freedom is indeed stronger than hatred and aggression. For this, our unity is needed. Unity between us, unity across all of Europe, unity in America, and unity throughout the free world. Unity is the most effective, precise, and long-range weapon.
Indeed. And so, in a sad addition to the hundreds of thousands in losses, Russia will have to carry the burden of millions of veterans, so-called veterans, maimed both physically and mentally, another lost generation of Russians. But who cares about that in Russia, right? The other side of freedom is responsibility. Ukraine is responsibly fulfilling its mission as a guarantor of food security in the world. Even full-scale Russian aggression did not break the willingness of Ukrainians to help.
During the full-scale war, we proved that when Ukraine, together with its partners, restores security to the Black Sea, the world gains dividends of greater security for other regions. This ranges from food security to social security because the stability of the food market influences the political stability of many countries in the complicated African and Asian regions.
The grain from Ukraine is the key to preventing the global food crisis, no less, and Ukraine's seaports are of strategic importance for maintaining the global food security. In 2022, Ukrainian grain saved 100 million people from famine. It is critical for the food security of such countries as Eritrea, Mauritania, Ghana, Lebanon. The constant brutal Russian missiles and drones attacks on Ukraine's port infrastructure are a big challenge for global food security. The most frequent targets of shellings are the ports of Reni and Ismail, Odessa region. Of course, protection of Ukraine's port infrastructure is critical for exports. Of course, uninterrupted supply of air defense systems to Ukraine is a contribution of partners to global food security. But these are all absolutely formal and very clear narratives. Let us exercise some personalization here. Imagine you live in Africa. You are a president of an African country, and your country is in danger of hunger. And you know that Ukraine can and will deliver food to help. However, Russia burns the grain, literally. Russia sends $100 million worth missiles to burn food on about the same amount of money that could save you and your family and your country. And then Russia offers the grain that it has stolen here in Ukraine to you during next upcoming Russian Pocket Summit for African countries. So tell me, as the president of that African country, what would you do? On October 28th, 29th, Malta hosted the third meeting of national security and foreign policy advisors and the leader of the Global South on the implementation of President Volodymyr Zelensky's peace formula. The world lives with the agenda of the peace formula shaped by Ukraine, which is global. The peace formula is not only about Ukraine, of course, but also about restoring security and is all done in the name and rule of international law and order. The summit enjoys quite a representation. 66 countries and international organizations, including Asia, Africa, and Latin America, also took part in the meeting. The question of what is more or less clear remains how. The participants worked on specific plans to implement the peace formula points like radiation and nuclear safety, food security, energy security, release of prisoners and deported persons, and restoration of Ukraine's territorial integrity and the world order. The meeting in Malta laid the solid groundwork for holding the Global Peace Summit at the level of heads of state and governments.
A joint statement of the co-chairs of the summit, both basic and unifying, has been agreed upon. This is the right signal. No matter what is happening in the world, the most important thing is unity for the sake of the real power of international law, as this is unity for the sake of justice for Ukraine and all countries and nations that may face aggression.
And the world has all the chances now for an open discussions on global and just peace. I mean, for all of us. And at last. It was Henry Keane on UATV English, hoping to give you the hard truth in easy enough terms in our daily wrap-up today. Please comment, like, and don't hesitate to subscribe. Ask us a question. Stay safe and tune for more. See you very soon.